The San Francisco 49ers are still without the Defensive Player of the Year practice. Okay, we are deep into training camp, and I think it's because the East Coast bias. If this was on an East Coast team and it was happening, this would be very, very, very loud.
Yep. Yeah.
The Defensive Player of the Year is holding out a training camp on a Super Bowl contending team, and it is not really being talked about because I guess, it is training camp, people can get away with. But if this was on a team that gets talked about on a regular basis, this would be headline every morning. Boom. One of the best players in all of football is not getting paid by a team that needs his services to go to the Super. Like, that's how it would be spun. Instead, we're kind of just like, yeah, it'll get figured out. Yeah, it'll get figured out. Kyle Shanahan was asked about the Bosa situation. This is how he handled it.
No, not at all. I don't know if Bosa's ever done a training camp, and he's done pretty good. I mean, it's a little different when you're a D lineman. I mean, just how you always, everybody wants people here and you want to do that stuff, but it doesn't affect the team as much from a DN standpoint. I have as much confidence in Nick as any player I've ever been around in terms of how he prepares and everything. And I know they're going to get it right, both sides, and I'm excited for when I do see him.
He just said to all you DNs, training camp don't matter.
Yep.
So there's something to think about. If I'm at that practice and I'm making the team and I'm a little bit of a lazy fuck at all, all right, he just said it. I
don't need to be here.
Good run.
Give me a red jersey. I guess that's a Niners jersey. Go ahead and give me one of those little baseball hats. He said it. I can it doesn't matter. I'm fucking around, obviously, but Bosa not being there is a big deal. And I appreciate the fact that everybody just assumes it's going to get done, Shanahan included. And what we were told is that Shanahan
runs the show.
Yeah.
So Shanahan's saying, like, yeah, I trust that deal is going to get done. That means it's going to get done? Yeah. Why hasn't it?
That makes no sense. That feels like something that almost would have been done last year when, like, he is on this tear and it's like, hey, give me my money. Are they not worried because this has already happened? Like, he held out his rookie year and then they just decided, like, okay, we'll pay him. And they know that that's where all roads lead to, no matter what the small little thing
with
is.
that guy, defensive player of the year, you like to have him around the team. Like you're talking about how the position you can kind of, we get it. And he's working on his moves, and Bosa's going to be great.
Yeah.
He's the best in the world at what he does right now. And he's the size of a jungle cat. Yeah. So it's like he's going to be great. But having that guy around is good for team building, good for camaraderie. And it seems like there is zero, like, urgency at all to get him in there. I wonder if this is just going to be the new trend around the NFL. Like, we got a long season.
No. This definitely not going to be the new trend around the NFL. Because guess what? All these defensive ends, not one of them is like Bosa. I'm quite sure he's in the middle of the woods somewhere, chopping wood. We don't have to worry
you're saying
about,
he's a lumberjack.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about him being in shape. We don't have to worry about him knowing the defensive playbook. They got a veteran defense over there. And the deal will get done. They probably got a date. Hey, look, we got to get this done by this certain date. And I'm quite sure it's the week before the first game. We don't need him right now.
This kind of happened with Zeke, right? Whenever he was down in Mexico.
Yep. Yeah.
He was in Cabo, I believe, doing his thing, training. Yeah. And I think it was said that, like, Jerry and his people were like, hey, we'll get a deal done at this. Need to be in shape by. Yeah, whatever, dude. You don't want to do training camp. Cool, you're in Cabo. I get it. But also, we're going to have to work through some stuff. This is probably going to be the date you'll be back. Yeah. If they gave that type of deadline to the whole situation, I think that's probably why everybody's so calm and comfortable. But I would want that fucker around. Just walk around. You might inspire a rookie to be like, damn, I didn't know that's what NFL players look like. Just having your great people around is good. Just watching. Like, I learned shit from Dallas Clark, who is a tight end, just by watching how he operated. I learned stuff from Gary Brackett just from seeing him in the building. You learn stuff watching people that are great and how they go about doing things. Like Bosa in the training room, I'd assume before practice, after practice, in the middle of practice, his work ethic, his attention to detail, his meal. Like, rookies seeing that and, like, just getting a chance, like, oh, that's how the greatest in the world does it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal, but I guess that isn't as much of an importance because, once again, we have a long season and people will be able to see him do it during
and Shanahan plays it off so cool. And it's not just West Coast bias. I think it's defensive bias as well, because the number 3 in votes for Defensive Player of the Year last year, Chris Jones, no one's talking about either. But we talk
still not at camp, right?
We talk about on offense. We talked about Zach Martin. We talked about Jonathan Taylor. We had talked about Saquon.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a defensive bias, I believe.
So let's talk about another place without Bosa still not signed in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan came out and said Bosa's never done a training camp. not worried about anything. We are told Shanahan runs that place. So whenever Shanahan's saying, like, it's going to get worked out, it's going to get worked out, we just assume it will. How long do you want that guy out of the building, though? Because isn't it good for some players to see a human like Bosa, how he operates, how he handles himself off the field, in the locker room, in the training room? Or does that not matter anywhere near as much as I'm putting kind of the weight on it? Because I'm like, get a deal done, get him back in the building. Like, this is a guy.
Yeah, they'll get one done. I think after the second preseason game, you'll see him back in. That gives him one preseason. He's not going to play. That gives him the preseason game and the week before. That gives him 2 weeks. I think that's the target. You need 2 weeks to get yourself in shape. And Bosa will be in great shape. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And look, the guy had 49 quarterback hits last year. I mean, who does that? I mean, he beat everybody by a ton. I mean, I think the next closest guy was 29. I mean, so it's remarkable what this guy does. They have to get him signed. And look, they have a quarterback who they drafted in the 7th round, so they're not putting money in a quarterback. They got the money to pay for him.
Oh, didn't even think about that because, I mean, Connor's going to ask about it. Trey Lance's situation is wild. Go ahead, AJ.
It's unbelievable.
Lombo, what do you make of all the noise in Dallas and what's going on with Dak and the interceptions and defense is talking? Are you worried about their offense?
Bitch, I believe.
You know, it's hard for me to tell until I see it on the tape.
Yeah.
You know, I never know when, you know, you get those Twitter clips, a guy getting beat one-on-one, a guy's got 9 seconds to throw the ball. I never can tell. I'd rather watch it in the game. You know, I think Dak's got to show that he's smarter with the football and not take chances. Look, if you're the quarterback of the Cowboys and you got that defense and you don't turn the ball over, why did Pittsburgh turn their season around? They only had 2 turnovers in the second half of the season because they played smart. And when you play smart as an offense and your defense is good, Pittsburgh's defense the last half of the season gave up about 16 points per game. So when you're smart, play smart, you don't put your defense out there in a bad advantage, that could help. And I think McCarthy's got to convey that. And I think Dax understands that. He's too smart not to. You know, one thing in practice, guys take chances. It's why they call it practice, because you want to take chances. You want to make mistakes. Look, the best way to learn as any human being is to make mistakes. So when everybody's bitching about bad practices, coaches are loving bad practices because we can correct it. Look at the Jets. They got their asses kicked down in Carolina, the offensive front. We all know their offensive line's in trouble, right? And so they were, they need this. They need a dose of reality on them to say, hey, we got to get better.
Yeah.
You need that. You can't have this ain't Hollywood.
How much
We're not
trouble? Yeah.
filming a Hollywood
Hey,
movie.
that